I also was watching a video last night. I'm taking one of these online courses. I mentioned, Brian, I was taking this online course from MIT, but it turned out to be a total sham. Uh, MIT is offering a very expensive, like $7,000 course for business leaders on AI that doesn't include Gen AI. It was
What,
made, it was made just after the pandemic, and it's like free Chat GPT. And they are very, very careful in all of their marketing to never mention, they just make it all sound vague. Because of course, if I'm paying $7,000 for a business leader class on, and I'm as interested in what they're saying to business leaders as I am in learning it myself. Like I'm forming my own opinions at the same time. But um, in the very first intro segment, I'm like, oh my God, the way he's talking, I can tell this is all done before Gen AI. So I find out, I'm like, yep, I got my money back. So now I'm in a Johns Hopkins class, uh, which unfortunately is really Python heavy in the beginning. And like, I don't see the point in it. But the professor that's in charge of it, I think his name is Ian McCullough. Um, he seems like the real deal. He mentioned in one of the intro sessions last night that GPT-4 alone uses more electricity than the entirety of Central Florida, like from Tampa through Orlando all the way over to like Daytona.
mm.
Like, imagine it's like a bar bet. You could say, hey, true or false, GPT-4 uses more electricity than Disney World and Universal Studios and all of the theme parks in Orlando combined. And someone would have to sit there and think about it, true, false, like which way to answer. And the answer is that it uses more than all of that, plus Orlando, plus all of Tampa, plus all like what? Like, I mean, it's like I haven't fact checked this, but the guy who said it is about as credible as they come. Um,
The ex-head of Google, he was at like a congressional meeting, and he said the only bottleneck is energy. Like that was his big thing. That energy is the bottleneck here. Like so it's
it's
not.
physics, right?
Yeah.
Like we're up against physics, and it's really and this is nerdy, but it's really interesting to look at like one GPU that can pull hundreds of watts under my desktop. And it's not state of the art. It's not the best GPU in the world, and it can pull hundreds of watts. Uh, the human brain at peak uses like 30 watts uh, and is capable of doing things that entire massive banks of GPUs working together can't do. So it's like there's both, uh, given the current model of how we're, GPU powered AI, all of that, there's a physical limitation in the form of energy. And at the same time, we have this biological example running around between our ears that is like a miracle of energy efficiency. When um, and so like it does tell you that there might be a hardware evolution, a hardware breakthrough at some point in our future that won't look quite like GPUs, that won't be so power hungry. Like,
Mm.
it's the best we can do today, but we might look back at this and think of it as like the big block V8 engines of the 1950s and 60s and the muscle cars. It's like the incredibly inefficient, just beat it with volume,
Yeah.
um, type of thing.
Might become necessity, actually. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't
I've
know
been
where all this
saying
power is going to come from.
the same thing, which is that, I look at the computer I've got a nice, I've got a nice desktop that I, invested, 3 years ago in, a liquid cooled, 64 gig, and this is before AI, I just thought, more power, you know,
Yeah.
and, and, and the thing is that it's basically just like a hopped up gaming machine. But there's
Hmm.
no this thing didn't even know about AI at the time I bought it, nor did I. And there's been no major. innovation that's hit at least the consumer side since GPT-3 came out. There's we're all just running basically gaming machines. And when hardware starts becoming available that's purpose engineered for the type of work we're doing on it, I think we're going to see another big leap.
Mm.
Well, I just don't know what it looks like. I agree with you, but I don't know what that looks like,
I don't
you
either.
know?
Yeah.
Like it's if that were a question that we already had like a kind of an obvious answer to, we'd already be hearing about it, you know? Like instead, what we're hearing about is NVIDIA just sort of like doing more of the same, you know? Like
Mm.
uh there's little incremental breakthroughs in power efficiency here and there, but they're incremental, they're not exponential. Um and you know, like that video you shared with me recently, Brian, about the expense of the like the power consumption expense of the context window varying with the size of the context window squared.
Hmm.
So like so that would say that if we're to believe Google's million token window relative to the 128K of like GPT, right? That says that Google's willing to eat a 64x power consumption cost relative to what GPT. So like so then it's really not all that surprising then that in that video the guy sort of like claims and backs it up that it's not really paying attention to all million of that. Like
Right.
Mm.
it's just choosing not to give you an error message when you provide a million tokens, right? And then doing the same thing with it that probably GPT does, right? It's just GPT is being a little bit more honest about its context window, right? Um, so like, I don't know. I think at our, like, I've kind of, in a podcast um, that Justin and I just recorded, it won't go out for a couple weeks at this point, but um, like, I think I've concluded that even though we're going to get breakthroughs like the type you're talking about, Sam, Claude Code that I haven't seen yet, like sort of like a novel application of LLM technology, that's sort of like a new way to assemble the Lego bricks together to get something different. Um, the nature of the Lego bricks we're given right now are going to be relatively like this for a while. Like it's
Mm.
going to be relatively stable, um, and and we're not going to be seeing the like in 2 years the kind of AI that just full on replaces humans. Like on because like this context window limit has been there since the beginning. It varies with the square of its size in terms of how expensive it is. Um, and like in that video was great, right? Like he's like, I've yet to find an LLM that can reliably reason over the entirety of a 100-page document, which is something that human beings can do,
Mm.
you know? And
Well,
but
Brian and I are very pro-human on this podcast, so don't get us wrong there. I'm
oh no,
I'm
I agree.
I'm super optimistic that it's just going to be such a supercharger for. I mean, that's what I'm seeing. That's what I've always seen, actually, like a supercharger for
Yeah,
everyone. But if there'll be disruption for sure, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But it's an accelerator.
yeah. Well, it was good for me to finally sort of like connect a bunch of my intuitions in a way where I had a logical framework that kind of like fenced this stuff in a little bit. Because I do think just like the psychological vibe of it exponentially advancing all the time
Mm.
does lead to paralysis. Like, no point in me getting in on it today. Like, wait for it to, we're gonna see where it lands, right? But also just
Mm.
like the fear that like it could just jump the tracks at any moment. Like, I do think it has a chilling effect on people's willingness to engage with it.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
and I'm not really immune to that either. And but this having this sort of like this logical box that I can say, okay, it is inside this box, and it like until something brand new happens, it's not going to just burst through these barriers. Has been really um, reassuring to me. Like it's given me a confidence in that, even though I might have believed the same things. But like, you know how it is. Like you, oftentimes you believe things because you want to believe them, not because they're true, right? But because, or you have any really good durable reason. But like now, I think I have good durable reasons to believe that thing that um, we're not on the cusp of AGI. Uh, but again, and if we are, it's because something brand new is going to happen that isn't like the curve that we've been on. As exhilarating as this curve has been, it doesn't lead there.
It definitely makes non-contiguous jumps. I mean, I've seen just in the 2 years that I've been immersed in it, Sam and I talk about this a lot, that there are just certain points that feel like, okay, this is this is a bit off the tracks,
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
think we've each, and I think this is why this dynamic has been so good for us, because I think it's kept us from feeling, I mean, Sam, I want to hear your thoughts on this, but it's kept me from feeling overwhelmed because we when we took off on this journey, we kind of went in opposite directions. I kind of went down the analysis and tools side. Sam went down the development side and became expert in that. And we come back together for these conversations, and we've been doing it long before we started taping them. And we'd come back and kind of share, okay, here's what I've been exploring, and then here's what I've been exploring. And it it made the other stuff we didn't know seem less scary. It certainly did to me.
Mm.
And I think that's been a big help, because I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed and say, man, even though I'm like, charging every day, there's still all this stuff I haven't even looked at, and kind of having a training partner, if you will, kind of to
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm working out on that side of the gym, and here's what it's like.
Yeah. First of all, I don't even know what AGI is. I don't know what that looks like. Like that conversation is very weird to me. Like because where the AI is at right now is amazing. Like it already is. It already is that. It already feels like that to me. I didn't even know what the. I mean, the agent thing has sort of elevated my mind a little bit. It's like, wow, okay. The only thing restricting me from doing anything is really how fast I can think of things to do. Like when this is all set up correctly. But AGI, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. Um,
Well, it
they talk
means we
about they
don't
talk
need
about it
you.
a lot, but it's
Yeah.
it's it's hard to know what that even looks like from a real world perspective, right?
Oh, and it means we don't need you or me or Brian,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
like which is clearly not where we're at today.
No, that
Right?
that one that one's hard for me to think through. It's hard for me to imagine. But
Well, I mean, like just to get philosophical for a moment, there's nothing
yeah.
about it that makes it impossible. Like nature's already built something capable of doing what humans do. It's built humans. Like, we are physically possible,
Mm,
right? Whatever magic our brain is doing is physics, and it's been done. So it's just in a weird way, it's wild that we have all this horsepower and we still don't have something like that. Like it's so it is possible, and I do think that humanity does eventually get there. I'm not sure that I like that humanity eventually gets there, but like this doesn't it is kind of the thing that I've come around to. Like it's like when we get Skynet, it's it's not going to be you know GPT type stuff running on GPUs.
yeah.
Uh, at least not with
I do,
these approaches.
the speed thing is head spinning. The speed of which it is changing. And I've kind of got two hats here. One is my um like um just wanting to discover and do new things. Like that's one hat, and I've always loved doing that. And that's why every time something new comes out, I'm jumping onto it and I'm trying to experience it, I'm trying to see it. But then I have my business hat on and I'm like, oh, God, okay. This is changing, what my business was. It's sort of changing the value that we historically provided. What should we move into next? You know, what should we be doing next? Um, so, and that's on multiple fronts, actually. That's like, okay, that's on how relevant is Power BI training, in the distant, like in the next 2 to 5 years, like, also it's how um, how do you get discovered online with all this with all this going on? So that
Yeah,
even that's changing. That's changing
yeah,
rapidly. So
yeah.
there's two sides that I'm grappling with, just like what I'm sure a lot of others are grappling with. There's the excitement on one side, but then there's like the head spinning, mind numbing. God, I've got to navigate through this so that I can, um, keep paying my mortgage. So,
Yeah.
there's certainly challenges there for everyone.
Oh, 100%. Right. Like, we're an organization, a consulting organization that we do a lot of things, but like, huge chunk of what we do is build Power BI models and reports for mid-market companies.
Mm.
And so uh, anything that's disruptive to the value of that is something I have to watch very closely. Um, and like you know the 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 notion that there's still a thinker that's required, and this is where AGI would be the final straw, right? But like we're not there. There's still a thinker required. I mean, even like this English-based programming I've been doing this weekend, like I've been building a marketing copywriting agent, but it's just an LLM that every time we load it up, it hydrates its instructions from a Notion database. And those instructions are stored in English. It's in a database. It's really nice and structured and regimented and all that kind of stuff. But it's just slurp, and oh, I remember who I am now. I know the voice I'm supposed to write in. I know the do's and don'ts. I know all these sorts of things. I know who the target audience looks like. All that kind of stuff. Um, Even when I'm doing that, I'm having to think very systematically. Like, I used to my the first chapter of my career, I designed software for Microsoft. And I don't mean like just like UX design, but like they designed like what the feature set should be, what the capability should be, how they should be presented to users, right? You know, and those parts of my brain are now like really useful again. Um,
Totally. Yep.
and I don't think that just anyone could have sat down with Claude like I did the other day, ignore the MCP server setup and all that kind of stuff, and even just had the right conversation with Claude to build the right structure and to build the right sort of like way of thinking and everything. Like, um, uh, and so anyway, so I agree with you, right? Like there's the I've been trying my best to align those two halves of my brain, the nerd that wants to go play with and learn things, and like but
Mm.
but like anchoring it in a business case.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this marketing copywriting thing is, I mean, like it's already better than at this stuff than any of us have ever been. But it learned from me. I don't feel like I'm cheating. Like I taught a colleague that that is an amazing writer when it knows what it's writing about. And I taught it in a very systematic way. And now it's able to turn around and give me ideas. Not all of the ideas are good, right? But it can give me more ideas than we even have time to test. Um, awesome. You know, maybe my next project is I'm going to go build a chatbot for our website, but rather than like buy some SaaS solution and trust, like pay for all of that and like not be able to configure it the way I want, I'm gonna take the same approach that I've been taking with this. I'm gonna like build a Notion database that gives it the instructions, and then interact with it, try to break it, and when it tells a prospective customer something I wouldn't want it to say because it doesn't sound like us or lies to them or whatever, I'm gonna try to rein it in with more rules and hope that its context window is large enough to remember. And um, yeah, like I need that. I need that nerd energy, sort of like that, like excitement, and I'm trying to find ways to channel it into into business relevance rather than like doing another like hockey model.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because I think I'm probably a little bit more toward the we're closer to AGI than I think either of you guys might put us to. And I think part of
Ooh.
it is, that I've always been a tinkerer and an optimizer. Like my Power BI external toolbar has 39 tools on it. And I use them. Um, my LLMs, I basically have 10 LLMs I use regularly. It's linked to a 5.7 gigabyte Obsidian database that it has full access to. It has a knowledge graph memory in the MCP layer that it's building out relationships every day. And then what I've also done is this week I gave it um, basically full access to my computer with like a couple of like emergency stop measures. Um, and and the thing about it is like if you've ever like I don't know shit about cars. Like I couldn't fix a car with a gun to my head. But if you ever work with like a friend who like knows everything about cars and they're just under the car and they're just calling you to hand them tools, like that's kind of what I feel like I am to my model now. Is like I kind of set it in motion and I basically watch to make sure the car doesn't like, fall off the jack onto my friend. But other than that, I'm just a monkey handing it tools these days because I trained it and now it is just running and it is processing the 6 gigs it knows about me, the things that I've trained it to do. And the amazing thing about it is with that 2 layers of persistent memory, you can basically train it like an athlete that you can say, okay, I have this task I want to do. We're going to walk through step by step, do it, do it, do it until you get it exactly right. When you get it exactly right, you're going to take and you're going to write that information to memory, and you're going to write it to both layers of memory. So the knowledge graph is going to tell you that you have it in Obsidian. It's going to tell you is this worked and you have it in Obsidian, go look at it. And so when it spins up, it kind of goes through all these things that it now knows to look at. And you're right, Rob, that it's still artificial. It's still the minute I turn it on, it's dumb as a brick. But
Hmm.
30 seconds after that, it is lights out. And the stuff it can do now when it's got 300 tools in its tool belt, full access almost to my computer, and all the knowledge that it was trained on in the base layer, it is damn close to what I think, you know, it's not AGI in the way I look at it, but it's not hard to imagine it getting there pretty soon, in my view.
The key word
Like,
there is you're orchestrating. And Rob, you were saying some of the things like to me that's like such a key word. You become an
Yes.
orchestrator.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like just to really test it though, Brian, like this thing that you're, first of all, I'm very keen, like when we meet next week, I want to be walked through what this two-layer system and the graph thing and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff looks like because like, you know, I like as fast as you're running, I think like I am closing in a little bit so like I can understand more and more of what you're doing than I used to, right? Uh, so it's just kind of nice. So I want to know all about that so that I can see what I can do with it myself. And then ultimately what we can do for our clients in that vein. But it doesn't sound like the thing that you're building, as awesome as it is anywhere close to replacing you, you know?
You've got to orchestrate it still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
so
it
that to
goes to
me
that
that's
Peter
the
Gostev paradigm of, the movie director. That each individual player may be better at a certain thing than the person directing the movie, but they've got the vision, they've got their name on the final
Mhm.
product. And I still feel
Yeah,
like to some level I've got that, but
yeah,
it's even starting to ask smarter questions.
yeah. So Brian, I think this is the kind of system that my friend that we've been talking about has had running for a while. and it's difficult. He doesn't always explain things very well. His attention wanders quite a bit, so it's hard for me to get straight answers out of him. It's not because he's being secretive, but I'm the way you're talking about this system is the way he talks about the system he's been running. And so I think, um, like these two stories in my life are converging, and I'm really looking forward to being able to ask you questions about it because I'll understand you.
Well, I'll give you a really great like real world example is that I've been an R user for like 10 plus years. I know not everything about R by any stretch, but I really know how it works. I manage my environments well. I manage, 300 packages, easily. I don't run into conflicts. I started with Python and oh my God, like my environment's exploded. Like I've got four versions of Python running. I've got some running in virtual environments. Every time I do something, it has conflicts. I'm sure anybody who knows Python would look at what I've done and go, what either lunatic or idiot put this structure together? And what I did is I went and I said to kind of this LLM beast memory tool beast I've created. I said, take a look through my entire system at what I've done with Python and don't do anything, but come back to me with a comprehensive recommendation for how you would clean up this environment. And it came back to me with a multi-page plan of, step by step by step, here's what we're going to do. And so I've started going through it, with it and saying, okay, like don't take any action until I tell you it's okay. Because the thing you can do is with this desktop commander, you can say approve all, approve always. And it'll just because you get tired of saying approve, 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 and then you really feel like a monkey. And so you give it some leeway. But in this case, I said no leeway. Like I don't want you breaking stuff. But the incredible thing is it is going through with me and it's explaining to me what it's doing, why it's doing it, and then it's going and doing those things. And it would take me years to learn how to do that. And it's like it would be like calling an expert, calling the best, Python programmer you've ever met and saying, here's everything about my system. Just help me fix this. And I am just knocked out by how good it's doing with that.
Yeah, I believe it.
Well, what you're describing, Brian, is basically exactly what I'm doing with app development right now. I do exactly the same thing. I wake up and I walk into my computer, turn it on, whip up Claude Code, whip up four different tabs so that I'm able to control four different tabs. I have my transcription tool and I say, can you please go and review this logic in these files? Come back to me with what you're seeing, what you recommend we could do to optimize it, refactor it. Boom, set it away. Go to the next tab, do exactly the same thing on another part
Yeah.
of the app. Go to the next tab, and I'm doing this. I mean, I can't think of more than four things at one time and manage more than four things in one time. So like, but I could do more. I could do more. I've seen others do more. You do get to a point where you're probably being more ineffective because you're doing like too many things and you can't orchestrate it well enough as the human in the middle. But that's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing, and I think I'm doing it sort of just on the code. But yeah, I am seeing, and I think you're probably doing it more so, is that this could permeate into other aspects of work, right? Like I think
Oh,
it will.
absolutely.
I think it's almost going guaranteed that this is what all work will kind of go to at this point.
Yeah.
Not maybe not everything, but a lot of work. But the one key thing that I want to highlight though is I'm with Rob on this. Like I am orchestrating everything. I am orchestrating everything. It's all my ideas. It's all my own. Like I'm not because the code file, like some of the apps that I've built, particularly this like marketing one that I've done, it's huge. Like it is so complex. It's huge. It's a huge thing. I need to understand it. I need to understand everything about it because I can't just let the AI go and look at everything. The context window isn't big enough. It doesn't understand every part of the logic. Like I am fully orchestrating. I'm just not writing any code. I'm not writing any code. I'm just like full on collaborating and
Yeah.
orchestrating the build. Um, and I don't know. I'm struggling to see that going away anytime soon with any model upgrade in the near future. And certainly it's sped up. Like I'm doing a lot more. I'm doing way more than I was doing a month ago, 2 months ago. Way more, way faster. The models are like Claude Opus 4 is a better coding model, so it's like more effective. So
So are
yeah,
you having it read your entire code base? So like it knows what you've pushed to production, it knows what you've got in test. So the
am
production
I
stuff
reading it
it
or
can
is the
look
AI
at and
reading
say,
it?
okay, this works.
Are you saying do I read it or does the AI read it?
Does the AI read it?
Um, Well, it reads every code file that it changes for sure, and evaluates, and then it makes changes to it. Um, Whether it's
But does it
taking
have kind of broad view of your entire code base, like
um,
your whole GitHub?
no, it doesn't unless you have like there's ways that you can construct a model, like I guess like a semantic model of the code base. Like you can probably you can always have a knowledge file that you update. I just haven't really done that. So a lot of that is in my head. It's in my head in a
Right.
lot of cases, and then I have to really direct the AI. And look, it comes back, it's wrong sometimes, but I don't accept it and I move on to the next thing. The only way I can not accept it is because I've got to know, I've got to understand, I've got to understand what it's doing. I've got to be like right on my orchestration. Or you can waste a lot of time, or you can get poor output. So I guess my theme is that it's doing more, but I'm so key to this. I'm so key to it. It is all my vision. Like it's Rob's analogy from back when you were developing software. I'm still doing that. I'm still doing that completely. Um, it's just I'm not actually grinding away coding anymore.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Before we run out of time, can we return briefly to the Power BI question and the Microsoft question?
I'd love to
Sure.
know more insights about Microsoft from
So
from
just
from,
think
from a
about
former insider.
think about what an outlier Power BI is in that entire organization. Like Fabric, all of these, Azure data platforms and everything, they're all platforms. Microsoft is a platforms company, right? Like the thing when I learned when I joined Microsoft was that the Windows shell, the thing that everyone thinks of as Windows, like the start menu and desktop and Explorer and all of that, that was the team on the Windows team that got the least respect. No one cared about them. Like Windows was an API. That Windows was just a development platform. It was just an API. And like you couldn't hang around the Windows team for very long before you're like, oh my God, right? It's just a giant API. And that's the Microsoft Windows business model, right? Uh, and uh, so like the same is true of the data platform team. Like Power BI being like this one thing that sort of like almost crosses the line into borderline consumer territory is this outlier in that ocean that is their giant data platform. Um, and their home field advantage with the incredibly just massive installed base of existing semantic models in the world gives them, I used this metaphor, I think, with Brian the other day, like this is a baseball game of who's going to win. Like, okay, nothing's ever certain, but like every batter that comes to the plate, every startup or Tableau or Disruptor, whatever, every batter that comes to the plate is going to get three strikes. They get three pitches and then they're out. When Microsoft comes to the plate, they're going to get like 25 strikes. Like they are they've got every opportunity to win this. They don't have they can miss over and over and over again and still win. And you know, I get the sense that that they see it that way, that MCP is not a threat, that MCP is a way that people are going to get more value out of their uh, estate of semantic models and the engines that are able to process them. The the notion of Power BI as a product is kind of much less important to them, I think. in terms of like whether that wins or loses than whether they as a platform win or lose. And their semantic models are richer than like anyone else's semantic models. Other vendors are rushing to create them, but like they're like Johnny come latelys. Ironically, they're getting their competitors are getting credit for adding semantic models as if Microsoft doesn't have one. Like because like it's news, it's in the news cycle, but Microsoft has had semantic models since 1996 in the form of the first iteration of SSA SMD, right? They've been in this business forever, and their installed base of semantic models is massive. And who cares what the front end is, right?
Mm.
Now from an AI platform company perspective, I do think that it's been their partnership with OpenAI has allowed them to be like sort of has blocked them. This is a personal theory of mine. I don't have any insider knowledge here, but it makes total sense that their partnership with OpenAI, them being early to the AI game in that form of having that partnership with OpenAI, blocked them from developing their own. You know,
I
like
totally agree with that.
like Google went and developed their own, right? Meta is trying, doing their best to develop their own. Like Microsoft doesn't have their own LLM.
Mm.
Um, and you can totally see how that might happen, right? Like we'll get this partnership, we're all in on this partnership. It would look bad if we started to develop our own, or maybe it's even part of the terms of the contract that we don't develop our own, probably is, we don't know, right? Who knows, right? Um, and it's wild to reach this point in time where Microsoft is dependent on OpenAI for anything like that. Because again, if everyone starts to use these AI tools as their front end to everything, I do think that's a problem for Microsoft as a whole strategically. If, like, for example, if everyone in the world decided Claude Desktop was their way to do everything,
Mm.
sooner or later that doesn't go well, for Microsoft. Like that's you can't cede that real estate. It's kind of like the phone, right? Like they lost the phone war. And we got to hear for a number of years there about like, well, listen, every time someone buys an Android phone, we make money, right? But that's like a loser's consolation prize
Yeah.
when you're talking like that. Like you'd much rather have owned the phone ecosystem than to be making revenue off of some other competitor's strategic advantage. And so like we're hearing
Mm.
the same sort of things today, right? But when OpenAI makes money, we make money. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Like I don't, uh,
One of the things that we've discussed and that I've fully come to is that Microsoft Azure always wins. Microsoft Azure always wins, but the other stuff I'm just not so sure of right now. Like I'm
yeah.
just not sure that in the medium term their moats are as big as they once were. Like even Excel, I don't think the moat is as big as it once was. Like I think there's a lot of people that are just throwing minor analysis they need to do into an AI client right now. So they'll still exist. They're not going to go away, but I just don't think they're as big a moat as Microsoft Azure is, for example. Like Microsoft Azure is always going to win no matter what happens.
Yeah. I think Office does have a more precarious position in general.
Mm.
Um, Both because, the things that they do are closer to the capabilities that LLMs can replicate.
Mm.
Um, but also because like their AI integration story is more difficult. Like it's I mean they have the same sort of home field advantage in a sense, right? Like I mean, guess what? Like SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Outlook, right? Like a business's unstructured information like disproportionately does live in Microsoft properties.
Yeah.
Um, but like unlike structured data that is built to be run through query engines and is built for unambiguous rules on how to interpret it. Like unstructured information, like the only thing that's capable of querying and synthesizing and all that kind of stuff it is LLMs. Like,
So I want to ask you about that because I mean I've been using Excel since 1987, and I would say Excel has never been better than it is right now. I mean, for a piece of software that's coming on 40 years old, when I first started with Power BI, I was like, this is going to eat Excel. And I just stopped. I was at one point quite good in Excel, and I just stopped paying any attention to it. And the thing that's really struck me is, I think, is Microsoft, and you may disagree with this, but I really feel has lost focus and kind of interest at some level in Power BI to Fabric. Um, they have maintained an incredible focus on updating Excel. I mean, there
Yeah.
is new major capability coming into Excel every month, it seems. And I kind of look at it from the standpoint of the analyst, and Excel is just a remarkable tool to me. And I kind of wanted to get your take on, because I kind of saw as these things took over that Excel would decline, and it's been the exact reverse. I mean, I've actually seen Excel start to cannibalize a lot of Power BI's capabilities in terms of dashboarding. I would say it's better in visualization than Power BI at this point.
Because of like Python visuals.
Python visuals, R visuals, and even the native visuals, you can do stuff. I mean, um, Nick Desperatz, who did the Practical Charts books, which I think are like my favorite data visualization books, he did those in Excel because he couldn't get anything else to do all the things he wanted it to do. I mean,
Hmm.
Excel, from a visualization standpoint, is much more flexible than anything other than, say, ggplot2, which is a pretty heavy lift outside of AI.
Yeah. I don't know. I know that they've been investing heavily. I haven't been using any of those new things, right? Like the other night in the Python module of this AI class, I discovered why they called Lambda functions in Excel Lambda functions, um, because of the Lambda literal in Python. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, that's why. Like, okay, that is really lame. Like, I hate the name even more now that I know its origin. I mean, but it's like it's such a powerful concept. Like what they've actually done there is like I can implement a user-defined function in a by using other formulas in a grid and designating some of the cells as inputs and some of the cells as outputs, right? Like that's an amazing encapsulation technique. But like I'm so principled about it that like I just won't engage with it because of the damn name. Like I just like nope. And dynamic arrays and all of this Python and R integration and everything. I don't know. Uh but here's another way to look at it. In the Office suite, if the Office suite were gonna go under, like the Titanic, right? The last part to slip below the waves would be Excel.
Oh, it,
It
it
has
will
the
survive nuclear
it
Armageddon
it
along
it
with
has
cockroaches.
it has the highest it's on the highest hill when the flood comes.
Yes.
Um, and we all agree on that. Just a question, how high is the water going to be? Don't know. Um,
Yeah. We a few months ago we had I don't know how it came up for me, but I thought if you looked at Excel as a piece of software, the returns that has created for Microsoft, I was telling Brian, they must be absolutely insane. That one piece of technology, that one piece of
mhm.
software, like the margins on that, like how big would the team even be who are even looking after that right now? Like it doesn't feel like it would be that big compared to the
No,
100
it was
million people
insane.
that are probably using it, you know?
Yeah, I
It's
used to do
estimated
the
over a
math.
billion people using it.
A
Yeah,
billion people, yeah.
yeah. I used to do the math like on like Microsoft's profitability divided by the number of employees, and I'm probably like slightly above average in terms of like what I contribute, right? So I feel like I forget what the number was, but the number was insane. Like the profit per head was just nuts. And as much as I was being paid back then, which wasn't much compared to what I'd be paid there today, like there was an explosion in how much software engineers were paid, like right after I left. um, but I mean, I was just being paid like a pittance compared to you know fractionally what I was generating, right? It was nuts. The number of
Yeah.
zeros. Uh, yeah,
You just can't, it's so hard to put a value on distribution. They just have such incredible distribution. Like one, contribution from yourself or a small team can just add so much value to the whole because
Hmm.
of the distribution.
Yeah. And once they had that kind of critical mass, like the price of their software could remain relatively reasonable. Like it's one of the things that always blew me away, and I didn't expect it, was just how much more expensive almost every non-Microsoft option was compared to Microsoft. Like, Oracle, way more expensive than SQL Server.
Mm.
Tableau, like famously, like way more expensive than Power BI, and they're kind of trapped in that price point. You know, they can't raise. If they lower the price, their revenue falls off a cliff before they have a chance to gain market share. They're just stuck. Um, yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, to me, it's like the thing that's got to worry them to some extent about MCP is it changes your view of what an operating system is. Because the thing that I think has really benefited Microsoft, one of the things is, since the 80s, once you installed Windows, you were ride or die with Windows because you couldn't get rid of it, and changing it was, yeah, it's like I know people who've moved to Linux or moved to something else, but they are a tiny, tiny fraction. Like once you choose sides, you're stuck with that side for decades. And I've been a Windows guy, since that time, and never even thought of moving. And now, with spending most of my day inside my MCP client, all I care about. That basically what happens outside in the rest of the operating system is almost irrelevant to me.
yeah,
And what we're starting to see is these purpose-built AI operating systems, and I could totally see going to one of those in within a year or two.
sure. I don't know that that really bothers them that much. I mean, like I know the Windows revenue is real. It's a big deal. Um, but like if you're also poised, if you're Microsoft and you're poised to suddenly make, you know, twice as much money from every Power BI customer as you have been because you're enabling like an AI experience on top of it, like
Mm.
I, I the amount of additional productivity and value creation that's going to be happening in this wave. Like if Microsoft doesn't backfill by playing offense, the handful of things that they lose on a defensive, you know, viewpoint. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to replace those with some offense. I don't know. I mean, like it's also like you say like it's not as important that I stick with Windows, but it's also like the world you just described is one where I'm also not all that motivated to switch either. Like
Mm.
like why do I need a new operating system? Like if as operating systems become less and less important, like I mean, maybe if I buy a new computer, but like it's
Right.
like um you know I mean if there was an operating system that was just like inherently like MCP to the nines, you know,
Mm. Voice
you know,
activated,
I mean
like you
like
didn't have
that,
to like do
uh,
click around.
yeah, and someone's working on that.
Mm.
But like all the applications in the world that still matter, some of them still really do. Like like we're using Zoom right now. Zoom, the Zoom company is going to have to take that operating system seriously enough to produce a version of their software that runs there, right?
I
Like
just call Zoom an MCP tool.
okay, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, uh, does the this operating system better share some lineage with Linux, better share some lineage with,
Right.
like with so that the uh, ports aren't necessary, which I guess is completely reasonable.
Mm.
Uh,
I am I just don't see a world where Microsoft Azure does not win at this point. Like um
I
their
completely
core
agree.
software business, I'm just as I say, like I just don't think the moat is as big as it once is, and if this sort of new AI operating system sort of plays out, then yes, I think it sort of uh, dissolves or slightly erodes the usage patterns there potentially. But when you start using agents and you see how much you can spin up and where that value ultimately generates to, it's the compute, it's the compute, it's the It's the servers, it's the server farms and all that. Like
Yeah.
Microsoft Azure is going to dominate. Absolutely. They're all going to dominate. They're all like they're all going to grow so much because the usage of their tools ultimately, their servers that they're and the investments they're making there is just enormous. Absolutely enormous. Like it could be 1,000 times more than it is today, like in a few years' time. Like that's just the level it's going to get to.
Well, if they don't have their own credible LLM offering and the OpenAI deal somehow unravels, they're not getting, there's a huge section of percentage of compute in the world that they're not going to be harvesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, and so that, again, that has to worry them. Like of all these things we're talking about, that's got to be the one that's concerning Satya, you know?
Yep.
Uh, and I'll tell you that the attitude in the data platform team, like the mood over there is one of confidence and optimism and excitement. No one's afraid over there. And it's not hubris either. Like I can tell, you know, like which version. Like I can tell when Microsoft is doing the hubris thing, a team at Microsoft is doing the hubris thing versus doing the no, we got this, like for real, like the quiet confidence, and it's the quiet confidence.
Mm.
Um, I get more of a uh-oh vibe, or like we really need to. We're kind of like the Office org has more to figure out. Then they also have a harder problem. The
Yeah.
thing I said, right? Like to be the team that has the luxury of like, oh, we're the structured data team. Uh, it would make sense that Office would be having more trouble because they're the ones dealing with like all this incredible amount of unstructured content tied up in their properties that doesn't fit into context windows.
Yeah.
You know,
I think there's also more competition on that side. Like I get the feeling that ChatGPT edges into that office market too. Like
sure.
when you look at Canvas, you look at and I think they're going to come up with some. They won't say it publicly, but I kind of feel like they're going to try and eat into that market because
Rumor is they've already got a product.
yeah. You know,
Yeah.
like you don't really need to use Word now. Like you can just use Canvas inside of and it's a better experience. I
I
mean,
mean, over and over again, these AIs are giving me markdown that I can't put into Word. Like,
It's funny, I've
that's
switched over
annoying.
to Typora. I never open Word anymore. That I open Typora because that reads Markdown. But the funny thing about the RU code, which is one of the reasons I like it, is it has a bar at the top. And the bar at the top is how much context you have left. And at the end of that bar is a meter. And it's a dollar and cents meter for how much token cost you've burned in your session. And I just always think whoever sits at the end of that meter, they win. And, it's
Totally.
basically the people who don't care what I do, but I got to use that compute to do my thing. That, you know,
yeah.
that's who wins in the end, I think,
Hmm.
here.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Have you heard the story about from one of Sam, I forget who it was, one of Sam Altman's like former colleagues? He said the number one thing you need to know about Sam Altman is that if you took him out to one of those uncontacted tribes in the Pacific on the island and you
Mm.
dropped him there and you come back 6 months later, he's running the place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard that one, yeah. Yeah.
And um, so yeah, we shouldn't expect anything less than, you know, 18 step deep planning and I mean like this is a formidable opponent. Um,
Totally.
and
I've always I spoke to Brian and I discussed this the other week is I'm just amazed at the gumption of OpenAI in a lot of cases. Like how many people they are taking on in one go as
mhm,
and they're taking on powerhouses here. You know, like they're taking on big tech themselves
yeah,
without being public, with just funding. Like just the even
having no
thought,
compute, of their
the
own.
big thing, the thinking that they can do this, like it is so impressive. Even though, he's probably not the most perfect human being, but not all big tech leaders have always been like perfect, but just
I've yet to run into the one that is.
yeah,
Um,
but
you know,
well, I don't know, the ego, the um persistence, the man, it's amazing to watch. Like there isn't many leaders out there who would think that big, you know, and try and execute.
yeah, it's an
It
all or nothing, like winner take all type of mindset, you know.
Yeah.
it's just because I definitely, there are things he's done I've been very impressed with, but quietly the place that impresses me is Anthropic.
Yeah.
That you
Yeah,
look at you know all of a sudden NBA and you know you know kind of top echelon football salaries and those are being thrown around now to to people in the AI field. And the one place that really seems to be holding their staff against that is Anthropic. They've lost
yeah,
far less than anybody else.
yeah,
And by all accounts, a lot of it is culture,
yeah,
that saying that, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I feel like they have built a pretty impressive culture and one that I think in the midst of tremendous business pressures, I think has maintained a pretty legitimate space of really caring about security, about caring about doing things, quote, the right way. And I think they've sold that culture within this field and certainly to their team
yeah,
really well. And, so I kind of look at what they're doing, without having any compute resources of their own, with having far less, you know, kind of a war chest to throw at it. And I am really, really impressed with what they've accomplished. Because I think, early on, I think we all, at least I certainly thought they would long be acquired by one of the bigger fish.
Well, I think Amazon is their overlord. I do.
Yeah.
Amazon have given them like $8 billion or something like that. But yeah, no, like I agree with you. Can I just touch upon something? Because I wanted to get this was something this isn't like something I read or heard sort of a week ago, and I really wanted to talk to you about it, Brian, at the time. There's all this money being thrown around, right? Like Meta's throwing around a lot of money, huge amounts of money. Like I even heard that Meta, the people who are running Meta, there's a guy called Friedman or something. He walked away from a VC firm that he had going that was almost like a potential $300 million payout for himself or something. And Zuckerberg paid him out for this. Or it was something wild like this. And I just don't know. Like I was listening to that, and I was going, there must be something going on here. Like there is no way that someone would walk away from something like that, something they had built, and walk into another job with Meta and with their reputation on the line when they're already set for life. And this is just one example, by the way. And unless there was something bigger going on. Like there's something around this ASI, AGI, like there's indicators out there, right? There's all these indicators. They are saying something. They are saying something. No one is putting this amount of money into vaporware. And I don't know what that something is. I mean, I have some ideas maybe like, but something's going on. Like they are the top people at these big tech firms are seeing something and are willing to bet billions and billions of dollars, on it to hedge themselves against this potential thing that's coming. What like do you feel the same way? Have you seen the same insight? And what do you think?
I don't, in the sense that, coming from a management, a lot of years, decades of being a manager, and I kind of think, and also being a huge sports fan, kind of buying a team of all-stars doesn't guarantee you a championship. And some of the best teams I've been on and been, been either as a, as a contributor or as a leader on. Um, Not that they're mutually exclusive, you at least hope not. Um, that weren't the most raw talented teams, but played the best together as a team. And we're kind of committed to, that common vision and helping each other rather than trying to kind of pile up individual, stats and accolades. And so, whether this spending spree, this nine-figure signing bonus spending spree, obviously is putting an incredible amount of talent in a pool together, but whether that meshes into a result that is commensurate with that spending, I don't think is a given. I think you can look high high and low and far and wide in sports and entertainment, and movies that pulled multiple Academy Award winners with top line directors and sucked. I mean, it happens. Sports teams. I mean, the U.S. always has had the most talented Olympic basketball teams. We haven't won every gold medal. Yeah, and it's getting closer and closer. And so, I am not convinced that just assembling the all-star talent gets you to the finish line first.
I have a different thought. I agree with you that it might not pay the dividends, right? I mean, the other thing is like $300 million is a lot of money, but like, these companies just have just such insane cash reserves.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's wild to say it, but like, it's just not that much money. And like, of course, Zuckerberg doesn't have to answer to anybody, you know,
Yeah. I think their
like,
profits were 70 billion last year or something, so
yeah,
like in 1 year.
yeah. Like, so, you know, uh, Satya has to answer. The corporate structure there is different, right? Like he probably can't throw $300 million at someone where Zuckerberg is emperor at Meta.
Right.
Um, but the other thing is that I think there's a real dynamic here, which is that the penalties for underreacting in this environment are far greater than the penalties for overreacting.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like, cause like, like if you're one of the giants, that's making 70 billion a year in profit, like your number one job is to not lose the throne. Your number one job is to protect that. Like, um, and so like, and we're sitting here seriously having a conversation, a thoughtful conversation about like whether or not like Microsoft's Office business is in trouble. Like there's nothing that could have assailed that. Nothing imaginable that could have assailed that. And now we're like, by the way, it's still probably safe. Right? It's probably what's going to happen, right? But who knows? But like, I mean, I'm 51-49 that it's safe, right? Like, like because it just bet like tomorrow's weather is going to be the same as today, and you're going to
Right.
outperform the meteorologist type of thing, right? But
Yeah.
when there are credible threats to your strategic dominance that could come out of left field and like, and the pace is moving like this, like you don't want to be the one that looks back years from now and says, oh, I wish I'd steered a little harder,
Mm.
And I do think that we see that everywhere, right? Like, I mean, like the edict that came down at Microsoft, like everything needs to be AI, like came down without a lot of planning, you know? And if you're on the corporate board there, let's say you're on Microsoft's corporate board, you don't really understand AI. Like you're a titan of business, but you see this stuff coming. And so like, well, the direction, if you're on the corporate board, you don't want to be the person that was on the corporate board when Microsoft went under because they didn't,
Right.
that's a bad look, you'll never be able to show your face at the country club ever again, like and so
It's
you
not a good
tell
look
people,
for Apple these days.
so, right. So like you're gonna panic. You're gonna make big dramatic moves. You're gonna like freeze all spending on like normal investment, right? You're gonna do things that aren't necessarily rational, and like you, in hindsight, we'll look at and go, yeah, that was too much. Um, but again, like when you when the most negative outcome is existential, risk.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so like, and
It's a
these people have
good
egos.
perspective.
These people have egos too, right? Like, like, can you imagine like the show Silicon Valley was like somewhat nonfiction, like like these
By all accounts, very nonfiction.
very nonfiction, right? Like these people will do things with their business just to annoy their billionaire rival. They will, like, um, yeah, uh, I think that there was something like super like imminent, like some sort of secret, like Area 51, like we have aliens, or something like that. I think that secret would leak. I think it's be too hard to contain, and what we're seeing is more of just sort of like, you know, I mean, remember, like Zuckerberg isn't like some transhuman, like he's not like, if he was sitting here talking to the three of us, like he
Mm,
would carry himself like he was superior, trust me, but like we would not feel junior in his presence, I don't think,
Mm.
mm, mm,
or not like incredibly junior in his presence. And these they're I've seen some of these people up close and personal in my time at Microsoft, and seen how deep their human flaws can run.
mm,
Without getting specific about individuals, like I have seen people that you would think, and actually are sometimes like terrifyingly capable, and also how blind they can be, um, how they can make colossal mistakes that the rest of us can all see them making, and we know it's happening. And
mm,
I've also seen how much sometimes it's driven purely by their ego, and their fragile ego at that.
mm.
Um, so,
By the way, I had a similar experience. I used to work at a company called PIMCO in Southern California. It was at as you can imagine, 8 or 9 years ago. It was quite a tumultuous time, and all these guys were making hundreds of millions of dollars. Like that is it was crazy. It was crazy. I won't name names, but most
yeah, I mean,
people will get it.
you don't have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, yeah, I also remember being on the inside of the beast, and like looking at rumors and theories and conspiracy, all that kind of stuff about what was going on behind the scenes, and like wishing I could like speak up and say, "Oh my God, guys, you have no idea how mundane our reasons are for making this move, right? It has nothing to do with any, it's like it's always something super mundane or something super petty, like, you know, uh, so I just wish that I was the one that was being bought out for $300 million. I mean, that would be
Yeah.
like, that's the real injustice.
You raise a
So
great
true.
point, Rob, which is,
Yeah, that was a
I was in
really good point.
government long enough and got high enough up that you know, I knew some people who ran agencies, and I had briefed, senators and congress people, and went to one White House briefing, um and the more you kind of you put people at some level on a pedestal, and you just think, wow, they're like different than you or I. And when you get up close to them, you realize they're kind of the same as us, to a
Hmm.
large extent. They're just, their stomach hurts too on Sunday thinking about all the stuff they have to
Yeah,
do. And
yeah,
it's like, that you realize kind of how much closer they are to just normal people than you ever thought they would be.
yeah, yeah.
Totally, totally.
There's a counterintuitive example. Um, you know, an executive at Microsoft who has sort of like I think probably like an overall negative PR impression outside the world, um, is the only one of those big guns at Microsoft that I would follow into a burning building, and that's Steve Ballmer. Like, I
Mm,
like that guy, you know, and I think he is impressive. And he just happened to be at the wheel for a stagnant decade, and um, and he didn't have the answers. He didn't. Satya had better answers. Like the old, like, my ball, I won't share mentality that Bill and Steve, like that just wasn't going to work anymore, right? But like in my one personal interaction with him at Microsoft, I came away just so crushed that I wasn't going to get to interact with him anymore. Like I was going to get better in his presence, like he
Mm.
cared and he had high standards and he told me I was wrong in ways that were constructive and firm. And I was like, like, man, I'd love to be I'd love to work with him on a daily basis. I didn't get that impression of any of the others.
Mm.
Like, wasn't bummed leaving any of the other rooms. Like, so, hey guys, this has been great. I, I'm so happy that y'all invited me to do this. I'm flattered and
Yeah, loved your insights. Loved your
I've
insights,
It's
enjoyed
been a
Rob.
every,
blast. Yeah. I can't
Yeah,
believe how quick the time has gone by.
uh,
it is always that way, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
no, it's
uh,
good. Like I've loved getting a new perspective, Brian. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, absolutely. I
even
love
though I always love our just our chats as well, but it's always good to throw some other ideas and thoughts into the mix. And you've got tons
every
of experience, Rob. Congrats on building such a great business as well.
I do want to point out that like I, all the inspiration I put in those books, I didn't know that I was going to be like encouraging someone to become like an incredibly strong competitor to my training business. Uh, I mean, you were really good. I mean, like uh, you and like one other person put an end to all of my video training ambitions. I was out. Uh, but that's the way things are supposed to go, right? Like I knew that I was
Yeah,
early to
totally.
something, and I knew that when the world started to catch on, smart people started to catch on, like that was what's going to happen, and I always wanted that, like it was so annoying that people weren't catching on. So, it's just a
Yeah.
joke.
Well,
No,
It's not.
it's
look,
fascinating to me, like sitting between the two of you guys, because when I came out of that Rip Van Winkle period, the first thing my office did, they sent me to all the P3 courses that existed. I've taken, at least at the time, I took every course you guys ran. And then I went to work for Sam. And it's like, so, it's like in terms of my post-government career, like you guys are it.
Uh,
The two kind of where I learned initially enough to end up, with Sam and his team.
well, and
Mm.
now I'm learning a lot from y'all. Uh, you know, you've been a really big part of me getting my head straight uh, on AI and what it is, and getting my enthusiasm up for it. And like, I'm super grateful for it because like I do think that I've spent a long time now in a world that hasn't been changing,
Mm.
and I think I'm less valuable in times when the world isn't changing. Like I'm most valuable as a professional in times of change and helping navigate and clarify and all those sorts of things. And I just never expected it to happen again,
Yeah.
you know? And so to feel like my value as a not just like as a leader of the company and all that kind of stuff, but also like potentially like helping the world navigate some of this stuff, right? Like it's like, oh, I loved that. That's why this company started, you know?
Mm. Mm.
And so I'm really, really excited about it. And we have a lot of clients who are going to need help with this stuff. And just like I feel like really, really close to being able to just like start like holding seminars with them and walking them through like what like doing the AI for business leaders class for them in the way that it should be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
feel a similar way actually. Like I feel like this is I'm moving on to my a new chapter, like
mhm.
a totally new chapter for me. I've kind of like if you're brutally honest, like the training business is just probably not as good a business as it once was. Like it's sort of
Yeah, for a while
the
it was great.
yeah, is a really good business. But AI is changing that. that landscape a lot. The tools are changing so fast. It's hard to, there's a lot of factors there that is quite difficult. Also, just getting found online is much more difficult than it used to be. So there's a number of challenges there. So I'm in the process of reinventing myself personally. I'm reinventing enterprise DNA as a business as well. Mainly out of necessity, actually.
Hmm.
But I feel similar in terms of man, there is a lot of new stuff to learn here. It's just where is the value in distributing that or implementing it, or it's prob the real value isn't really in training anymore. Like it's probably in sort of some sort of service or software-led service type offering. That I haven't quite landed on it, but that is kind of where we're evolving. We're
Hmm.
evolving too. Um, hope and I'm hope yeah. Hopefully I'll figure it out. More so than what I've got right now, but that's sort of the trajectory we've been on.
We'll figure things out together, and then we'll just draw a giant line around the globe, right? You keep one side of the date line, yeah.
Yeah,
As long as you give
totally.
me a toy box full of tools to play with, I'm
Oh,
fine.
Yeah.
just I did have one other insight. So so I've heard this many, many times, okay? There is so many people in large businesses that they're all in their meetings, in senior leadership meetings, they're all going, we need AI, we need AI, but no one knows what to do. No one
Right.
actually knows what to do.
Yes.
Everyone is defaulting to let's buy a
Yes.
ChatGPT subscription.
Totally.
And um, that there is a lot of value to help there. There is,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know, in some shape or form, it's unclear, like it's totally not clear. But yeah, anecdotally, I just constantly hear this from
Yeah.
friends, people I play
Yep.
tennis with. Like it's everywhere.
But like this is one of those. Oh man, I love that because like this has been my intuition is that not only are we saying we need just about AI, but there's like every level of leadership is asking the level below them, hey, what are we doing about AI? Right? Like they're delegating the responsibility to the level below them, right? And so what does
Mm,
that level of the org do? They turn around and then they look at their people and say, hey, what are we doing about AI? It's like they just keep going down, hoping someone's got an answer. Because
mm,
if you're on offense in that game, if you're the one asking the question, what are we doing about AI? Right? Now you have the moral high ground, right? Like just because you're the one that asked the question, it's like the person who put their poker chips in the center first. They have an advantage, you know. And what a toxic dynamic. Like what was the email from the Fiverr CEO?
yeah.
Uh, it
Mm,
starts out so good. It really does. It starts out good, like care, concern, whatever, and then in the end says, all of y'all need to go figure this out, or you're doomed, right? Like, okay, so what's the CEO supposed to, what is the CEO good for? Like, you don't know? You don't know? Like, you're going to tell all of the individuals that they need to just go figure it out on their own? Like, why is the CEO paid so much money if the individuals, like, it's like just this total abdication of responsibility. Like, just just shame of
mm.
landing that email the way he did, right? There's just like such a sharp contrast. The way it started off, I'm like, okay, this guy sounds like and then what?
Yeah. And
It's
that's a
really
tech
interesting
forward
because
company. That's a tech forward company. You go to like I don't know, go to a telco, go to an energy company,
Yeah.
go to a
Oh
consumer
yeah.
goods company.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's buying a Copilot or ChatGPT or Claude subscription, and that's it at this point. Like there's a lot more you can do, and that's coming down the pipe. And that's certainly where I think there's big opportunity. It's just unclear exactly what that is right now, but there's big opportunity there.
Completely.
well, it's interesting because I spend a lot of time talking with people at the beginning of their career, starting data analysts, and they're always kind of like, what should I be doing? What should I be focusing on? And I'm like, in that environment that you guys described, where from the very top of the organization down, they're looking for somebody who has answers. I'm like, be that person, who just can speak up confidently and not say I'm an expert in AI, but here's what I've been doing with it to make it work for me. And
Yeah.
I think there's something here that could be scaled, or
Yeah.
even just being able to explain basic concepts of what this is and what it does. And, it's like, I think there is enormous opportunity for, kind of talented, industrious folks to really dig in and do the kind of experimentation that Sam has been doing, kind of learn how to build apps, learn how to solve problems. And being that person in the midst of this upheaval, I think is an incredible opportunity. It kind of
At
gives
certain
me,
orgs, at certain
yeah,
orgs, right? Like
Mm.
those organizations we just described with this toxic kick down, like delegate responsibility culture are also the ones that usually don't do the right thing with that kind of talent. Like
yeah,
once they reach the point where, like, if the person who has the answer is like below a certain level on the org chart, forget it. You know, um, it better be in a position in the company where people are expecting an answer to come from. Because it's like the Excel analyst that always knew better in so many ways than the management team, right? In some ways, they didn't understand that some aspects of the business, but they were never utilized to their fullest. They were just like, just stay in your lane, give me my numbers.
Mm.
It's just like, how absurd is it that you're the CEO of Fiverr, a company that is like almost like by definition one of the most at threat, most under threat businesses on the planet, right? Like I just give short tasks out to something else, right? Right? Like you're the you are right, and you as the CEO of that company are telling your employees they need to figure it out. Like, I mean, just like get lost.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Like that's a good analogy. They
That's
just give out
just
little tasks.
like what?
There's some new dimension coming to that world pretty soon, isn't
Yeah,
there?
like I wonder what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's your card. That's your strategic. That's why you have all the stock that you have. Like I'm
Mm.
just appalled, And that's the thing, right? Like there aren't enough leaders to go around in this world so that all these organizations can be led by the right kind of people. And you find out like the Warren Buffett style, like when the tide goes out, who's not wearing clothes. Um,
right.
This is absolutely one of those moments, though.
Oh my
The
gosh, yes. Oh my
absolute,
gosh, yes. It sorts things out. So,
yeah,
gentlemen, uh,
yeah. Let's call it. That's
if
been a
you,
very good
Yeah,
session.
yeah,
Very good.
and seriously, like anytime that you want to have me back, I know I can't be like a regular guest, like it's like every week or something like that, but like you know, whenever I will come back whenever. So you
Sounds
just
good.
you let me know when things have gone long enough. You're like, hey, maybe we should do another Rob episode. I would love to. It's this been
Yeah.
just
It's
so.
all vibes here.
yeah.
Whenever we feel up to it, we just vibe.
I mean, like this
It-
one I suggested, right? Like I was like, hey, Brian, I really want to come talk to you guys, right?
Yeah.
But I won't do that anymore. So just let me know if you ever want to run it back.
Yeah, sounds good.
yeah, I really
Always open
enjoyed
to
it.
it.
Okay, let's round off.
All right.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Brian, setting
Thank
it
thank
up.
you both
Thanks.
so
Really enjoyed
much.
it.
Really enjoyed it.
Have a good day, guys.
Bye
See you
bye.
later.